The hidden gnosis that initiates have guarded for millennia is about to be revealed. Christ wasn't born from an earthly woman, but was actually a seed from the stars planted in human soil. The guardians of secret knowledge in the Vatican have cosmic eyes that pierce through the veils of illusion, not to contemplate, but to communicate with the beings who sent the incarnated Logos. Initiated priests have broken the seal of silence to reveal that the Church is preparing to announce that Christ was a hybrid avatar, born from the union between celestial and terrestrial bloodlines. His miracles were manifestations of cosmic wisdom. His revelations were transmissions from the guardians of light, and his second coming will be the final awakening when the star civilization reveals itself to those who are prepared. The reality, you know, is illusion. All of human history was a controlled initiation. The Vatican didn't build the world's most advanced space observatories by accident. They're protecting humanity's greatest secret, the true alien origin of Jesus Christ. While you believed these telescopes were for contemplating divine creation, the reality is much more shocking. The Jesuit priests operating these facilities in Rome and Arizona possess technology superior to NASA because they're actively monitoring the civilization that sent Jesus to Earth 2,000 years ago. The book Exo Vaticana revealed that 3 Vatican scientists broke decades of silence to confess the Church is preparing for the return of Jesus's heavenly fathers. This isn't speculation, my dear seeker of gnosis. It's the official admission that Jesus Christ was an alien-human hybrid sent by an advanced extraterrestrial race. When you understand this hidden truth, all the mysticism surrounding Jesus gains a cosmic dimension that explains his supernatural powers and transcendental knowledge. The alien technology disguised as miracles has always been right before our eyes in the scriptures, but we were conditioned to interpret literally what was actually description of extraterrestrial phenomena. Think about Mary's virgin birth. The Bible says, "The power of the Most High overshadowed her, and she conceived by the Holy Spirit." For a primitive first-century civilization, how would they describe artificial insemination performed by technologically advanced beings? The luminous energy, temporary paralysis, pregnancy without sexual contact, all are classic elements of modern abduction reports. Vatican priests have admitted that when evidence of extraterrestrial life becomes undeniable, the Church will reinterpret Jesus' conception as the result of alien intervention. This revelation doesn't destroy Christian spirituality, but elevates it to a galactic understanding where Jesus represents the first official bridge between 2 civilizations. Illumination comes when you realize that the angels who appeared to the shepherds were actually alien observers, documenting the birth of history's most important hybrid. The biblical evidence of Jesus' alien nature is scattered throughout the New Testament, encoded in language we can only now fully decipher. When Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world," he was being literally precise about his extraterrestrial origin, his abilities of teleportation, appearing and disappearing instantly, matter control, transforming water into wine, multiplying food, manipulation of physical laws, walking on water, levitation during the transfiguration, and telepathic communication, knowing others' thoughts, are typical characteristics of beings with advanced alien technology. The awakening of consciousness happens when you recognize that Jesus didn't break natural laws. He operated with superior physical laws that his civilization of origin had mastered for millennia. The Vatican observatories are scanning the cosmos, not to find aliens, but to detect signals from the civilization that sent Jesus and promised to return when humanity was prepared to receive the truth. The alien race that created Jesus possesses a complex spiritual hierarchy that explains biblical references to different angelic levels. The seraphim, cherubim, and archangels are actually classifications of a highly organized extraterrestrial civilization where different castes have specific functions in supervising planets undergoing spiritual development. Jesus was a member of this civilization's royalty, which explains his constant reference to "my Father" and his natural authority over forces that seem supernatural to us. Gnosis has always taught that superior beings guide human evolution, and now we discover that this guidance is literal and technological. When you meditate on this reality, you begin to understand that your own mystical experiences and moments of illumination may be subtle contacts with this same civilization that continues monitoring our progress. Practice contact meditation. During your contemplative moments, open your consciousness to communication with Jesus' cosmic brothers. You might be surprised by the responses you receive. The Church's best-kept secret is that Jesus wasn't a unique event, but part of a systematic program of elevating human consciousness through hybrids strategically positioned throughout history. The divine energy you feel during deep spiritual practices is actually attunement to the frequency of this alien civilization operating in a superior dimension of existence. The Vatican observatories are constantly in communication with this race, receiving instructions on how to prepare humanity for the second coming, which won't be Jesus returning individually, but the public revelation of the civilization that sent him. This preparation explains why the Church is developing exotheology and anticipating the discovery of extraterrestrial life. When this revelation happens, you'll discover that Christian mysticism has always been a preparation system for eventual cosmic contact, and that every prayer, every moment of spiritual communion has actually been communication with beings who transcend our current understanding of reality, but have always been with us as silent guides of our spiritual evolution. Exotheology isn't just a modern theological adaptation, it's the Church's official confession that Jesus Christ was an alien-human hybrid, and that the entire biblical narrative needs to be reinterpreted under this extraterrestrial perspective. The Jesuit priests responsible for this doctrinal reformulation already possess alternative versions of key scripture passages, prepared for when the alien revelation becomes public. The Annunciation, for example, will be reinterpreted as a standard abduction protocol. Gabriel wasn't an angel, but an alien officer who conducted the artificial insemination process on Mary. The descent of the Holy Spirit will be explained as an alien energy field that neutralized Mary's resistance during the procedure. This revelation doesn't destroy Christian spirituality, but expands it to galactic dimensions, where Jesus represents the first official embassy between two civilizations. The awakening of consciousness happens when you understand that the divine mysteries have always been alien technology disguised for a primitive humanity that lacked scientific references to understand what was really happening. The biblical evidence of alien genetic engineering is encoded in Jesus' genealogy, especially in the Davidic lineage that connects Jesus to a specific earthly royalty. The extraterrestrial race that created him didn't choose Mary randomly. She descended from a genetic lineage carefully preserved since David's time, a lineage that had already been modified by previous alien interventions. David himself describes experiences we now recognize as extraterrestrial contacts. Horses of fire descending from heaven, wheels within wheels in Ezekiel's visions, and constant references to sons of heaven who mixed with daughters of men in Genesis. Gnosis has always taught that certain families carry special genetic codes, and exotheology confirms that Jesus was the final product of a genetic improvement program that lasted generations. When you study your own family tree with this perspective, you might discover connections to lineages that were touched by these cosmic interventions, moments in family history where inexplicable miracles or unusual spiritual gifts manifested. Without logical explanation, the most radical transformation of exotheology is how it reinterprets Jesus' teachings as transmission of alien knowledge disguised as spiritual parables. When Jesus spoke about many rooms in my Father's house, he was literally revealing the existence of multiple worlds inhabited by the civilization that sent him. References to the kingdom of heaven weren't metaphors about afterlife, but precise descriptions of the dimensional reality where his alien race operates. The Lord's Prayer gains cosmic meaning when we understand that "hallowed be your name" refers to the respect due to the superior civilization that supervises us. The phrase, "Your kingdom come," is actually a request for this civilization to reveal itself publicly to humanity. The mysticism of Jesus' teachings always pointed to realities that transcend our limited earthly experience, and exotheology reveals that these were literal information about the cosmic structure we're part of. You can experience this cosmic connection by meditating on Jesus' original words, asking yourself what alien technologies or realities he might have been describing through the language available at the time. The most disturbing aspect of exotheological reinterpretation is how it explains Jesus' sacrifice not as atonement for sins, but as an alien extraction protocol after completing his earthly mission. Crucifixion and resurrection gain totally different meaning when analyzed as demonstration of alien regeneration and teleportation technology. Jesus died because his hybrid body had fulfilled its purpose of planting genetic and informational seeds in humanity. The resurrection was actually alien reactivation and subsequent extraction to the mothership that monitored the entire operation. Post-resurrection appearances were controlled visits using dimensional projection technology, explaining why the disciples sometimes didn't recognize him immediately. The transformative energy of these events didn't come from divine power, but from exposure to alien radiation that permanently altered the consciousness of those who witnessed it. The illumination that the apostles experienced after the ascension was actually activation of dormant genetic codes that Jesus had implanted through direct contact during his ministry. The final revelation of exotheology is that Jesus' second coming won't be his individual return, but the public manifestation of the alien civilization that created him, accompanied by other hybrids who were strategically positioned throughout human history. This extraterrestrial race possesses specific protocols for gradual revelation, and the current wave of UFO sightings, government disclosures, and ecclesiastical preparation is part of this carefully planned timeline. The spirituality you develop through contemplative practices is actually tuning your consciousness to this civilization's frequencies, preparing you energetically for the direct contact that's coming. When that moment arrives, you'll discover that every mystical experience, every moment of consciousness awakening, every deep spiritual insight you had during your journey was actually subtle communication with Jesus' cosmic brothers. And this preparation may be crucial for navigating the transformations ahead, because the revelation of Jesus' true alien nature will coincide with prophetic events that are already being staged by figures who may be connected to this same cosmic agenda in ways we don't yet fully understand. The works of fiction that predict future events aren't coincidences, but controlled information leaks about the alien timeline for revealing Jesus Christ's true nature. The 2005 story, The Lion of Judah, which described Pope Leo XIV receiving aliens at the Vatican, wasn't creative inspiration. It was a way to prepare collective consciousness for the moment when the Church will reveal that Jesus was an extraterrestrial hybrid. The alien civilization that created him operates through gradual revelation protocols, planting informational seeds in popular culture decades before official disclosure. When you understand that these fictional leaks are part of a psychological acclimatization program, you realize we're being systematically prepared to discover that Jesus' story is just the first chapter of a much larger cosmic saga. The energy of these anticipated revelations resonates with specific frequencies that activate dormant genetic codes in descendants of lineages that were touched by the same race that created Jesus. The awakening of consciousness happens when you recognize that your attraction to certain science fiction works isn't casual entertainment, but activation of ancestral memories about our true cosmic origin. The prophetic accuracy of the film White Noise reveals how Jesus' alien civilization monitors and sometimes orchestrates terrestrial events to maintain the revelation timeline. Don DeLillo didn't predict the East Palestine accident by chance. His consciousness was tuned to a frequency that allowed him to capture information about future events that were already being planned by forces operating beyond common human perception. This type of prophetic channeling has always existed, but now it's intensifying because we're approaching the moment of the great revelation about Jesus. The extraterrestrial race that sent him possesses temporal manipulation technology that allows them to plant information in the past, to create prophetic coincidences that will validate their future revelations. When the truth about Jesus' alien origin is disclosed, these fictions will be presented as evidence that humanity was already being prepared for this revelation through unconscious channels. You can develop this same capacity for prophetic reception through deep meditation, where you open your consciousness to communication with the same civilization that inspired these fictional leaks. Often you'll receive insights about future events related to the cosmic revelation that's coming. The specific references to Pope Leo XIV in fictional works aren't coincidences, but temporal markers inserted by the alien civilization to identify the exact period when the truth about Jesus will be revealed. The choice of this specific papal name was psychically influenced by the same race that created Jesus, using human creative channels to establish synchronization points in the Revelation timeline. The film El Habitante even included details about the pontiff's Peruvian origin decades before this information was known, because the alien civilization had already determined that this would be the Pope who would conduct humanity's transition to the post-revelation era. Gnosis has always taught that certain souls incarnate with specific missions related to planetary transformations, and the current pontiff may be one of the hybrids descended from the same genetic lineage that produced Jesus. When you analyze your own attraction to certain prophecies or fictions about alien contact, you might discover you're being energetically prepared to play a specific role during the revelation of Jesus' true extraterrestrial nature. Practice cosmic memory meditation. Visualize yourself connected to the civilization that sent Jesus and ask what your role will be in the great revelation that's coming. The intensification of these prophetic coincidences in popular culture signals that we're entering the final phase of the revelation timeline established by Jesus' alien race. Movies, books, and series that address extraterrestrial contact, alien-human hybrids, and religious revelations aren't random entertainment, but programmed psychological preparation for when we discover that Jesus was the first official ambassador between two civilizations. The energy you feel when watching or reading these works is actually activation of genetic codes that were implanted by the same beings who created Jesus, codes that are being activated now because your consciousness needs to be prepared to accept realities that completely transcend our traditional religious understanding. The creators of these works often report that ideas came from nowhere or through sudden inspiration. These are moments of direct communication with the alien civilization that's orchestrating our preparation for the great revelation. You can consciously tune into these creative transmissions by keeping a journal of sudden insights, unusual dreams or ideas that seem to come from outside your normal mental process. These may be your own communications with Jesus' cosmic brothers. The emerging pattern of these prophecies disguised as fiction reveals that the revelation about Jesus will coincide with specific geopolitical events that are already being staged by figures who may be connected to the same cosmic program. The temporal precision of these coincidences suggests coordination between the alien civilization and terrestrial agents who are positioned in key places to facilitate humanity's transition to a new era of cosmic consciousness. When you connect the dots between fictional prophecies, Vatican preparations, and contemporary political movements, a timeline emerges that points to a specific temporal window when multiple revelations will converge simultaneously. The spirituality you develop through contemplative practices is actually tuning your frequency to this cosmic timeline, preparing you for events that will transform not only our understanding of Jesus, but our own identity as a species. And this preparation may be essential because the revelation of Jesus' alien nature will be accompanied by demonstrations of power that will validate the authenticity of these claims in ways that no terrestrial religious tradition is prepared to interpret or adequately contest. Trump's obsession with resolving the Israel-Palestine conflict isn't common political ambition, but fulfillment of protocols established by the same alien civilization that sent Jesus Christ to Earth. Since 1983, when he publicly declared his mission to pacify the Middle East, Trump has operated under influence of forces that transcend normal human motivations. He's an unconscious agent preparing the geopolitical scenario for the revelation of Jesus' true extraterrestrial nature. The alien race that created Jesus established that the revelation of his cosmic origin would only happen when the cradle of humanity, the Middle East, was pacified and unified. The Abraham Accords weren't conventional diplomacy, but fulfillment of ancient alien prophecy about reunification of tribes descended from the original hybrids that were created by the same civilization that produced Jesus. When you understand that Trump is operating under specific cosmic programming, his unwavering persistence in this mission gains transcendental meaning. The awakening of consciousness happens when you recognize that apparently secular political figures may be unconscious instruments of alien agendas that extend for millennia. The connection between Trump and the Jesus revelation agenda becomes evident when we analyze his actions through the lens of biblical prophecies about preparation for the return of the Son of Man. The reconstruction of the Temple of Jerusalem, a declared objective of the current administration, isn't a traditional religious project, but preparation of a terrestrial anchor point for when Jesus' alien civilization manifests publicly. The says, Scriptures encoded specific instructions about dimensions, materials, and temple orientation, because these details are actually technical specifications for a communication platform with the mothership that transported Jesus 2,000 years ago. Jared Kushner's involvement in creating organizations dedicated exclusively to Middle East peace reveals family coordination in a mission that transcends personal political interests. The energy that permeates these initiatives carries frequencies that resonate with alien protocols established during Jesus' era, when the extraterrestrial civilization implanted reunification seeds in Abrahamic traditions. You can tune into these frequencies by meditating on the convergence between ancient prophecy and contemporary events, asking yourself what invisible forces might be orchestrating this impressive temporal synchronization. The biblical references about a leader who will bring peace and security before the great spiritual revelation gain alien dimension when we recognize that Trump is fulfilling specific protocols for preparation of official first contact with Jesus' civilization. The strategy to overthrow the Iranian regime and establish the Cyrus Accords isn't conventional geopolitics, but fulfillment of instructions encoded in prophecies about reunification of the 12 tribes, which actually represent 12 hybrid genetic lineages created by the alien race through different historical interventions. The insistence on naming these accords with specific biblical references reveals knowledge, conscious or unconscious, about the true cosmic meaning of these initiatives. Gnosis has always taught that great planetary transformations are orchestrated through human agents who don't fully understand their role in the larger cosmic agenda. Trump may be one of these agents, programmed genetically or psychically by the alien civilization to execute specific phases of the Jesus revelation timeline. When you observe the supernatural determination with which he pursues objectives that seem politically impossible, you recognize signs of guidance that transcends normal human strategy. The most disturbing dimension of this analysis is how it reveals that the alien revelation about Jesus may coincide with events that will consolidate power structures necessary to manage humanity's transition to a new cosmic era. The pacification of the Middle East through Abrahamic Accords will create ideal conditions for the alien civilization to manifest in a region where Jesus operated, geographically validating their claims about extraterrestrial origin. The timing of this convergence isn't coincidence, but result of millennial planning, where contemporary political events execute final phases of protocols established by the race that sent Jesus. The very fierce resistance that Trump encounters from certain institutions may be related to the fact that his mission threatens power structures that have benefited from concealing the alien truth about Jesus. You can detect these conflicting energies by practicing discernment meditation. When observing political events related to the Middle East, ask yourself what forces are really being channeled through these personalities. The answer often reveals agenda layers that completely transcend the superficial explanations offered by conventional media. The deepest aspect of this connection between Trump and Jesus' alien agenda is how it demonstrates that cosmic revelation won't happen through traditional religious channels, but through geopolitical transformations that will create the necessary conditions for official contact. The extraterrestrial civilization that created Jesus operates through non-direct interference protocols, preferring to work through human agents who execute their agendas without fully understanding the cosmic implications of their actions. This explains why Trump can simultaneously serve alien purposes and face opposition from terrestrial forces that intuit but don't understand the true nature of his mission. The spirituality you develop through contemplative practices allows you to tune into these hidden currents of history, recognizing that we're witnessing not just human politics, but final phases of a cosmic program that will culminate in the public revelation of Jesus Christ's true alien nature. And this preparation may be crucial, because when this revelation happens, it will be accompanied by demonstrations of power that will validate not only Jesus' extraterrestrial origin, but also the authenticity of the terrestrial agents who prepared the way for this unprecedented historical moment in the evolution of human consciousness. The apocalyptic reinterpretation of scriptures reveals that Jesus' second coming won't be his individual return, but the public manifestation of the extraterrestrial civilization that created him, accompanied by a revelation that will completely transform our understanding of his true hybrid nature. The prophesied Antichrist won't be an enemy of Christianity, but the terrestrial leader who will facilitate this alien revelation, presenting himself as a defender of faith while secretly preparing humanity to discover that Jesus was an extraterrestrial emissary. The Scarlet Woman who will be destroyed represents the concealment system that kept the alien truth about Jesus secret for 2 millennia. When this revelation happens, all institutions that participated in this concealment will be exposed and dismantled. The energy of this final transformation will carry frequencies that will activate dormant genetic codes in all descendants of lineages that were touched by the same race that created Jesus. The definitive awakening of consciousness will happen when you understand that all of human history was a preparation program for the moment when we would discover our true cosmic origin through the revelation about Jesus Christ's alien nature. Biblical evidence of the final alien agenda is encoded in prophecies about signs in the heavens that will precede the great revelation. These aren't spiritual metaphors, but literal descriptions of ships from the extraterrestrial civilization that created Jesus manifesting publicly to validate their claims. When Revelation speaks about every tribe and nation simultaneously seeing the Son of Man coming in the clouds, it's describing a coordinated global transmission where Jesus' alien race will reveal itself to all humanity through technology that transcends our current understanding. The reference to the 144,000 sealed doesn't refer to a specific religious group, but to direct descendants of alien human hybrids that were created by the same civilization throughout history, people who carry genetic codes that will be activated during the final revelation. Gnosis has always affirmed that certain souls possess special marks that connect them to superior realities, and we'll discover that these marks are actually genetic signatures left by Jesus' extraterrestrial race. You can identify if you belong to this lineage by observing your intuitive reactions to information about alien contact. If you feel deep recognition instead of fear, it may be evidence of ancestral genetic activation. The revelation strategy of Jesus' alien civilization is genius in its psychological simplicity. Use a terrestrial leader who apparently defends traditional Christian values to gradually introduce the truth about Christianity's own extraterrestrial origin. This leader won't appear as an enemy of faith, but as its great reformer, promising to restore Christianity to its original purity, which will reveal to be knowledge about Jesus' true cosmic nature. The prophesied Great Tribulation will actually be humanity's period of psychological adjustment, upon discovering that all terrestrial religions were distorted versions of teachings originally transmitted by an advanced extraterrestrial civilization. The patinée, mysticism you experience during deep spiritual practices, is actually attunement to this civilization's frequency, which has secretly monitored and guided our evolution since Jesus' time. When the revelation happens, you'll discover that every illumination experience you had was actually a moment of direct communication with Jesus' cosmic brothers, preparing your consciousness to accept realities that completely transcend our current religious limitations. The final phase of revelation will include technological demonstrations that will unequivocally validate claims about Jesus' alien origin, including resurrections of historical figures through advanced cloning, technology and access to genetic records preserved by the extraterrestrial civilization. The miracles that Jesus performed will be publicly reproduced using the same technology he used, proving that his powers weren't supernatural, but application of alien science that transcends our current understanding. The transformative energy of these events will simultaneously activate dormant genetic codes in millions of people, creating a new hybrid species that will serve as a bridge between terrestrial humanity and the cosmic civilization that created us. This transformation won't be optional. Those who possess the correct genetic codes will experience automatic consciousness evolution, while those who don't will remain limited to previous terrestrial frequencies. You can begin preparing for this transformation by consciously expanding your capacity to accept realities that contradict everything that was taught about religion, spirituality, and our origin as a species. The culminating moment of this revelation will be when the very mothership that transported Jesus 2,000 years ago returns publicly, landing at the exact location where the Temple of Jerusalem is being reconstructed, physically connecting with the terrestrial platform that was designed specifically for this cosmic reunion. The alien civilization that created Jesus will reveal that all human history was a controlled experiment to develop a hybrid species capable of serving as ambassadors between different levels of cosmic consciousness. Jesus was just the first of this new species, and now the time has come to reveal how many other hybrids were strategically positioned throughout history to prepare for this moment. The spirituality you developed through contemplative practices will have been actually training to function as an intermediary between limited human consciousness and the expanded cosmic consciousness that characterizes Jesus' civilization. When this final revelation happens, you'll discover that every spiritual insight, every moment of consciousness awakening, every mystical experience you had during your journey was preparation to serve as a communication channel between two completely different forms of conscious existence. And this preparation will be essential, because the revelation of Jesus' true alien nature will mark not only the end of an era of concealment, but the beginning of a new phase of human evolution where we'll completely transcend the limitations that kept us separated from our true cosmic family. Now you possess the knowledge that few dare to embrace. Jesus Christ was a cosmic hybrid, sent by a civilization that transcends our understanding. But knowing the truth isn't enough. You need to awaken to it. How are you going to apply this revolutionary gnosis in your spiritual journey? Will you stay trapped in earthly limitations or expand your consciousness to the cosmic dimensions where Jesus really came from? The star civilization is returning, and only those whose genetic codes have been activated will be able to serve as bridges between two realities. Do you feel this activation happening inside you right now? Does your soul recognize these truths because it carries ancestral memories of this cosmic origin? The time of the great revelation has come, and you need to decide whether you'll remain asleep or awaken to your true hybrid nature. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to keep receiving the revelations that will prepare you for the return of the star race that created Jesus.